Hey folks, happy holidays. It's time for TWiP Pro Photo Critique number 94. This is TWiP. Hey, welcome back to another TWiP Photo Critique. This is critique number 94. We're closing in on 100. This is the last critique before the Christmas holiday here in the United States. I'm joined by my good buddy and fellow nitpicker, Mr. Troy Miller, to squeeze in one last critique before the holiday. What's going on with you over there?
You know what? I'm just trying to stay warm. You know, it's like a chilly 50 degrees outside, so it's rough. I got my hoodie on, I got my beanie on, I'm all dressed for Christmas. I'm ready to go. Okay, so that outfit is just that's just a visual representation of how cheap you are because you're not going to turn the heat on. You guys, it's not that cold. Get a blanket, put on some socks. No, I got a Dyson fan sitting right here that I crank the heat on when I'm not recording.
What about the other people in the house, Troy? They can fend for themselves. Hey, I put a roof over your head. You guys can figure out the rest. Right. Yeah, cool. And I know I realize it's colder other places. That's not where I live. 50 degrees is cold for me. I live in Southern California. It rains a little bit. Everybody freaks out. Totally. Yeah. It's like that, California rain is like a blizzard in other cities when people just can't figure out how to drive. And don't let there be an accident or something on the highway. And it's like everybody has to look and it'll back up traffic for 30 miles. But I digress. Right. Yes, the holidays are a festive time of year, so
I'm festive. See, I'm
Yeah, you are festive. You got the festive colors. I like that. So next week is going to be, this week's critique topic was holiday. Next week's is celebration. Yes. Yeah, it'll be New Year's time. So hopefully all the TWiP membership will make it through both of these holidays, and we'll catch up with everyone at the back end.
Yeah.
So we got lots of photos to go through today. You ready to dive in?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
All right. So here we go. I'll share the screen here. So we are looking at the TWiP community, the photo critique area. So let's look at the first one up from Michael Rhino. Oh, let me read his caption. His caption says, holiday lights at this popular landmark in downtown Denver. This was taken handheld during the morning commute into work with a Nikon D750. Let's take a look.
He always has like these amazing sunrise images on his way into work. It just kills me that it's that beautiful there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a mountain air. He's in the mile. Is Denver the mile high city, or is that Colorado Springs? I think it's Denver, right?
It's Denver. Yeah. Denver. Yeah.
Mile high. That's a mile high sky right there.
Yep. I love the colors. I mean, man, the colors are just fantastic. And what good range of color we have. I mean, just the colors being reflected off the building. There's some colored lights on the far left building that I like to see, to the left of the U.S. Bank sign. That sunset, I mean, my eyes keep going to that, sunrise. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel like I wish I had more of the reflective building on the right and centered the street a little bit more. I feel like that would tighten up this image for me, or even crop the left off just a bit.
You want it to sort of draw you down towards the light source, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's such gorgeous light down there. I also it feels like the image has some parallax where the building on the right, you can see the edge is like leaning in, and it looks like the tower in the middle is leaning to the right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because he said he shot this with what? Yeah, a 24 to 120.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good lens, by the way. That's a cool lens. But it's probably getting a little bit of that. So I see that lean, especially from the tower, the buildings on the right, you see that.
Would you, in post-production, would you have corrected that in Photoshop because Photoshop or Lightroom even have lens correction capabilities, right? Would you have let it do its thing on that or go with what the camera gave you?
I would have fixed it. It's super easy to fix. I mean, if you're shooting this at like 24, you're definitely going to get parallax, which are those leading lines, or those lines are going to be converging later. So, yeah, I would fix it.
Yeah, my comments on this are the same thing as you, only on the right side rather than like the sunset is great, but I like the sky. So I would rather him have panned or zoomed in or whatever otherwise compositionally to get rid of that sliver of building on the right side. And that would have made the tower, the center and the star of the show here. It's getting, right now it's a little bit distracting because the brightest thing in the scene is the sunset. And that, I think what he intended was that the tower would be the star of the show. It's dead center, right? Even if it is off kilter a little bit because of the parallax. But, I would have made a little bit more effort to make that the center of the show by eliminating that building on the right, probably.
Sure. And then, I agree with you, but I see that building on the right and I see that reflective surface. And I think that maybe there's other things in the way, but that was like, ooh, I want to see what's reflecting.
Yeah. It's actually even throwing a little fill light on the tower too from that building.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I do notice that at the very, very top of the flagpole, it looks like he tried to clip that off or clone that out so it didn't exit the frame, which I totally appreciate because that would drive me nuts. But I can see a little flare from, like the content aware tool. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, what it does is it tries to blend. And so you got to be really careful.
It ends up looking like, finger painting a little bit, right?
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah. It's not too bad though.
Yeah.
But cool shot. Cool.
Excellent. God, I love that there. I mean, I might even get up in the morning. I might get up early if I had sunrises like that.
Stop lying. Stop lying.
I said I might. I might.
You might like Dracula is going to go for a morning run. Come on.
Well, I mean, like everything he posts is from his morning commute. I'm like, holy crap,
Yeah. That's what happens in the morning hours, Troy. I know you haven't seen Morning Light in like a decade or so, but you're like, I don't need that morning light. I have Magic Hour. Who needs the morning light?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, cool. Awesome. Thank you, Michael Rhino, for that. Next shot up is from Karen Sweeney, one of our newer members. Karen says, okay, I didn't get a chance to take a fresh pic, so I guess I'll submit the pic I included with my introduction on the site. With winter at its apex, it's easy to cast thoughts back to summer holidays. This was one of my favorite shots. Shot with Nikon D850 with a 24 to 120. There's that lens again. 24 to 120 lens, f4 lens. She shot it at 24 mil wide, cropped in post. She used Affinity Photo. For the most part, with Luminar and Topaz denoise as plugins. The sky is 100% real, Troy Miller. 100% real. The one I posted before was an edit for Shutterstock. I've got quite a bit more knowledge since then. This edit got some extra dehaze treatment. The first one didn't have. The photo was taken looking directly west from a long word, West Scottish Islands. Not going to attempt it. You're not going to get me in that trap.
No, and you got to say it with an accent. So
no, I got to roll my R's a little bit. Okay, so Karen says this. It's so interesting that people have to qualify that now. They have to say that this is a real sky, right? Because the software has gotten to the point where it's nearly indistinguishable. Like replaced skies are nearly indistinguishable from actual skies. Yeah, which is kind of cool and kind of scary at the same time.
This is true. I will say though, that there's always telltale signs when you do Photoshop work. And to replace a sky of this magnitude would just require a very talented artist to do this. Like you would have to be a master artist to get this right because the reflection is just right. The colors, coming down the center is just right. The light color falls off. I think it feels completely real to me. And so I wouldn't have questioned this one. We may, probably would have joked about it, but
yeah. It's interesting though, because she says the sky is real, but no one was debating if the sky was real. We were debating if the sky was photographed at the same time the foreground was photographed. They could both be real, taken at different times, Karen. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, I know you took them at the same time, but that's cool. What do you think of the shot?
Word games, honestly, we can figure that out. I love the shot. I'm zooming around in there, getting in nice and close to look at it. I love that sky. I feel like there's a bit too much foreground. And I don't think we need all that. I think that if we crop up to the first puddle, the first reflection, and then there's that little grass and then the lake, I think I would crop it right there and move those mountains down and give the sky even more attention.
Okay. Yeah. Because the star of the show in the shot is what, in your opinion?
It's the sunrise or sunset. I don't know. And now I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you would put a bride in here somewhere running. Right?
Yeah, right. Right over on the right. There's a nice little area right there. I could put somebody.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if it's me, but it feels like it's leaning to the left.
It's not you. And I brought it into Photoshop and drew a line, and it is not leaning. It is perfectly horizontal. I was going to bring that up on the shot. I'm glad you saw that too. It is not leaning. However, it looks like it is. Right. So from a professional photographer standpoint, what's the right play here? Do you keep true to the physics of the scene and say, yeah, the horizon is straight, it just looks crooked? Or do you rotate it to the right a little bit to compensate what, the perception would be?
I rotate it.
You would? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I want it to look right. I'm less worried about what exactly is right. Like what's the physical horizon. And if I can't see, I always rotate and crop based on how it feels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. It's visual, right? So who cares about the technical? If the technical is correct, but the visual feels incorrect, who wins? The visual. So.
Yeah. You got to do that visual storytelling. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right, Karen, thank you for that. Oh, wait. One last thing we got to highlight on here. The border. What do you think of that?
I mostly dig the border. The double, it's basically, this feels like a double key line to me, or the inside key line is so heavy that I think it's a little bit distracting. But I love the treatment like this more than no treatment at all. So
really, more than no treatment at all. Mm-hmm. Even on a landscape shot, huh?
Always, yeah, because it sets the image apart from our desktop or the browser or, the wall or whatever. That's
a good point. If this shot was destined to be printed and framed, would you still want that on there, or would you just print it full bleed and let the frame do the frame and or the mat in the frame do the job of the key line?
Yes, you'd print it full bleed, and then you would let the mat and the frame do the job. The treatment with the key line and everything like that, that's more of a digital presentation. Or
okay, I got it.
Yeah, like if you're going to print a proof, because we print borders on all of our proofs, because when you lay them on the table, I don't want them full bleed, because then they just land and they end at the table. I want there to be some border, even if it's a clean white border or just a tiny key line. But yeah, when you frame it and present it, then I think it's full bleed, matted frames, those kind of things. That's
a good point, because you're not necessarily pro key line, pro border. You're pro frame. So
yeah.
And I agree with you. Frames in the real world look great hanging on the wall. It finishes the print. It makes it feel more heavy, more expensive, more considered, versus just a loose print. Thumbtack to the wall, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing here. You're doing a digital representation of what would be on the wall to finish the print and make it feel heavier and more finished.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. See? It just takes a couple months to understand Troy Miller's thinking.
Yeah, 94 critiques.
Exactly. See, that's a failure of communication. See, all you had to say was, it's just a representation of a physical frame, on the screen. That's all. You went into all this rigmarole about captures the image and traps it, all that stuff, when you were just saying, frame it. We just need to frame it.
If it was only that easy.
Wait, I gotta put you back on the screen. There you go. All right. So who is next in here?
Armando.
All right. Armando says, holiday for me, I always try to travel. This was in the Maldives. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
from there's a lot of color in there. Do those colors actually occur in nature? They do in some places, though, right?
Yeah, not in that level of intensity.
That guy's on fire. Yeah.
Very common. The challenge with an image like this, where I'm pretty sure, majority of those colors were there, that it's been pushed to the point where there's so many artifacts in the sky, around the clouds, and where the color it's supposed to fall off. See that like that little tiny cloud right in the very, very center. Mm-hmm. There's so much noise around that cloud, and then there's a smooth area, and then as you get closer to the color on the right, it starts to get really noisy again. Mm-hmm. And that's because the image is pushed so far that the tonality, the gradation of colors and tones just don't exist anymore. It's been over compressed.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a delicious image, right? Like the colors are fantastic. The scenery is great. I want to be there. Mm-hmm. But we got to be careful not to push it to the point to where those colors fall apart.
Do you think? Where do you think that happens? Does that happen when you're doing this kind of sort of? And we know Armando likes that saturated feel. Mm-hmm. We've seen that in a lot of his work,
which is great.
Which is great. I like it too. But do you think the noise and the sort of over processed feel of this image is due to the fact that he may have been working on a JPEG, or would he have had better results if this was raw, assuming this wasn't a raw file?
Well, if this was a JPEG, you obviously don't have the latitude that you would have with RAW. So, yeah, definitely. You just can't push a JPEG very far. And even, even with a RAW file, if you're bringing up shadows, that's where you get a lot of your noise, trying to bring up the shadows. And then when you add too much clarity or too much structure, or, you try to add too much saturation, the image can only go so far. There's only so much data there. And the math is only so good in our editors to push them to a point that, maybe visually we want to get. So we have to watch that. And it depends on your screen as well, because you just recently went through an exercise of calibrating your monitor for some reasons and stuff. But if you're out of whack, then he may not, if his monitor, assuming his monitor isn't calibrated, he may not have seen this version of the image, right? Or is it too out of whack that he would have absolutely seen it? Yeah, you may not have seen it. And we also have many challenges too with an image like this. Is one, if you're gonna, there's color spaces, right? There's Adobe RGB, there's sRGB, there's ProPhoto RGB, there's all these color spaces. Now, taking an image like this that you capture in camera, you shoot raw, it's got the widest color space, and then you bring it into Photoshop, maybe as a 16-bit TIFF, and you maintain that color space. But then if you want to take it and you want to print it at a lab, you have to crush that color space down into sRGB unless you print it on inkjet. Yeah. And so you got to consider all those things. And then when you present this thing on like a website like this, like Mighty, that does image compression, and then, through the net where everything is compressed again anyway, there's so many factors of where the image just gets crushed a little bit more. Yeah. Not to mention, you don't know what the end display is going to look like. We've talked about this on the show a lot. Right. You don't know who's viewing this, on what their calibration is. Are they viewing it on a crappy screen, a great screen? Are they on a tablet, a phone? Mm-hmm. All that stuff. Or, if you want to get biological about it, everyone has different rods and cones in their eyes. Mm-hmm. So they're going to see different shades of red, or people have different shades of color blindness. So they may not even see the oranges in there, or they may appear grayish or something. So and we also have to realize with images like this that bright oranges and reds are, I don't want to say that they're hurtful or painful for our eyes, but it burns out our eyes seeing that color. That color is very, very intense, and I don't remember if it's the rods or the cones that see the color, but too much red, bright red, we don't want to look at it very long, right? Our eyes want to jump off of it and look at something else. So doesn't mean you don't do that, but it's just an awareness. Yeah, no, for sure. Interesting though. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation about, the pushing an image too far, in how far is too far, and how much latitude, literally and figuratively, do you have when you're shooting JPEG versus RAW? So yeah, JPEG no latitude, no, or very little. It's like trying to unbake a cake, right? yeah, virtually no latitude. It's not gonna work.
Cool. All right, Armando, thank you again, sir, for your submission. All right, next shout up is from Mark Harris. And Mark says, the season of light on December 6th, our community Christmas tree was lit following the Hanukkah menorah tonight, December 22nd. I don't always visualize compositions in advance, but did with this one. He shot this with his D850 and an 85 mil at 1.4. Let's take a look. Look at that.
Yeah. I love
that's cheating light bulbs on a menorah. Aren't there supposed to be candles? That's supposed to be candle light right there.
Yeah.
Which would then set the tree on fire, and then it's all bad.
Right. It'd be hard. Well, I guess you could make candles that big. That would be really cool.
Yeah, it would, right?
Yeah.
Or if it was like, butane up there or something, some kind of fuel.
I'm down. Big fire.
Yeah, make like a menorah Olympic torch kind of action.
Yeah. We need big fire. Looking at this image, where my struggle is what is it that you want me to look at? What is going on in this image that is the center of the story for me? Yeah. Because the Christmas tree really stands out because it's colorful, it's sharp, and I know he's shooting like shallow depth of field, so I can't quite tell where the focus was, but I'm guessing it's on the tree because the menorah is more out of focus than the tree. And then you got that guy behind, he's behind the stand, and you got the two kids there and a guy with a phone in the lower left corner. It feels very busy to me. Mm-hmm. And maybe
that's tight. It feels tight, right?
Yeah, maybe that's what you were trying to convey in the photograph. But for me not being there, it's, I wish that one of the kids was maybe up to the microphone speaking and, people were looking at him and, there was that kind of story happening.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, there's something going on. Obviously, they're up on that platform in the Christmas tree and there's a microphone. So that says something important is happening right now, but no one's really in the foreground are paying attention to them, right? Or it doesn't feel like anyone's paying attention. So could it really be that important? But then there's a guy on stage that looks like he's of some import. So yeah, you're right. It just pulls you in different directions, and then, not to mention the menorah and a Christmas tree in the same shot. So, those are competing. And then the windows at the top, I don't know why, but I keep looking up there and expecting to see someone in a window. Maybe if there was someone up there peeking down, that would have added to the story.
Yeah. And I think this is one of those type of situations where, when you're there and the sights and the sounds and the smells and the experiences, it all makes perfect sense in the mind of the photographer and the composition makes perfect sense. But then when the viewers look at it, they don't have those same experiences. So we only have this image. And it's harder to convey that story. It's harder to tell that story. So, as people capturing that moment, whether you're photojournalistic or you're creating, fine art or whatever, you've got to convey that story through that image without anybody knowing everything else that's going on in the background.
Right.
I mean, I dig the story that's in here, but I don't know what it is. I can tell there's something happening.
It's like you almost had to be privy to this event or at the event to get what's happening. You're like, oh, that's when little Bobby and Mikey were up there talking about so-and-so, Yeah. All right, cool. Let's move on to the next shot. Yeah, that was Mark Harris. Thank you, Mark.
Mark Harris, yes.
Next up, Craig Stampfli. Craig Stampfli says, fireworks over Lake Mugara taken during the school holidays earlier in the year. I like this shot. You know what this shot reminds me of when I look at it? You being a science fiction nerd can sympathize. This reminds me a little bit of the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You remember when all the aliens came out of the ship and they were, they were backlit like this? That's kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
Yeah. No, I right away, I absolutely loved the idea of taking what we normally see as like these bright, explosive colors. See what I did there? Yeah. And making it black and white. That I had a great appeal to me just to see that. And I love the fact that, we have a very easy story to understand. All these people sitting down, there's people pointing. The stars are nice pinpoint sharp, so the shot
that's right. I just noticed that. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't too long. You've got the smoke was obviously moving faster, and looks like their water, was maybe, breaking on the shore. There's a little bit of soft shoreline there. I love all those little elements. We do have some noise in the right side, top right quadrant. I don't know if that's because the shadows were pushed a little bit. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I see it.
But overall, I mean, this is really, really nice.
Yeah, I agree with you on the whole kind of a different take on fireworks, because normally they're oversaturated, and you want to see the vibrance of the colors from these explosions, and which I don't. It's just a different way to look at it. But this one makes you think a little bit more, because your brain just sort of pauses and says, "I wonder what color that was." So well, it's kind of cool.
The monochromatic image does what we've said it does, and it's wonderful, is that we start to see shapes. And I think that if this was in color, there's a good chance we wouldn't be as attracted to the people sitting on the shore watching. Our eyes would go straight to the fireworks in the sky, because there'd be color and brightness. But I really feel drawn into the crowd here, especially the three kids on the left, or that little group, the kid on the right is pointing.
Yeah.
I just, to me, that little snippet of experience and life going on in there is just so powerful. And I realize, you didn't pose everybody, but you captured that right moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's like a community out there. They do this. They've been doing this for 50 years, and they're out there again on this date.
Next time, though, Craig, tell them that you want some fireworks on the right, upper right, and maybe some behind the smoke on the left a little bit, and, a little more balance.
I mean, that's easily, he could just Photoshop those in there, right? I'm sure he has more shots from this event.
Yeah, fireworks are very easy to add.
Yeah, very easy. Cool. Awesome. Craig Stampfli. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I dig it. One of my favorites.
All right, moving right along. The next one is from Lamb. And Lamb says, theme holiday, title everyone reacts differently. The writer's reactions vary from enjoying the thrilling moment to scared to death. He shot this in December 2017 at the indoor amusement park in the shopping mall in Berjaya, Times Square, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Take a look at that. An indoor roller coaster like that. Wow.
Yeah, I'm just looking at all the faces. Yeah, that's really great. I really love that.
Yeah. But this, this reminds me of? This reminds me of one of those shots that get automatically taken.
Uh-huh.
How you get on these roller coasters and they have the cameras positioned with the sensor, so they automatically snap at the right moment, and then they sell you one at the end.
Yep.
That's a Disneyland thing for sure. They'll do that every time.
Yeah, I really love the story that's going on in there, and I'm glad I can see all those faces. This is obviously shot with a very long lens, a lot of compression. There's not a lot of depth of field. We don't have a lot of shallow depth of field. I mean, to isolate the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. So it's all compressed so much.
Yeah.
So it feels very flat when you do that.
Yeah. I would just dig the four women in the hijabs in the front.
Yeah.
Throwing their hands up. That is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, some of the kids in the middle cart and the screaming guys in the back. Yeah. Great story.
Yeah, it is. It pulls you right in there. We've all been in that situation right there. We're like, why did I get in this thing? What was the purpose?
Yeah. I think an image like this could be helped with some dodging and burning. I think if we highlighted the four women in the front car and then we did a little burning to darken around them and fade off to the back.
Or like a vignette that centers around that first car.
Yeah, because it would draw our attention there, and then the rest of the image would be a secondary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because right now we don't know who's the star of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends on who's looking at it, right? So,
Right.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, you could give them a little help by putting a little vignette around those 4 women in the front car to just say, "Hey, this is what I want you to look at." And nothing heavy-handed, just a little slight, right? Just a little bit of a darkening of everything around it.
Yep, that can help a lot. Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Everyone reacts differently.
Thank you, Lamb.
Yep. All right. Next shot is from Ernest. And Ernest says, so much to shoot at Christmas and always gorgeous light here. Banff Holidays 2.8. Happy holidays. Hope the fat man finds everyone all the best. Yeah, me too. Cool. All right. What do you think of this shot? I know it's in a border, so you know you like that. Can I do my channeling Troy Miller exercise again?
Sure.
So you are going to say you like the border. You like the muted overall color temperature treatment of this because it feels kind of classic and old worldy. At the same time, you're going to complain about the foreground chandelier obscuring the Christmas tree, which is the hero of this shot. So you would probably not want that Christmas tree in there. But the other one in there is it's fine to have in there because it adds to the castle feel of the shot. It may feel a little bit, especially after you remove the foreground chandelier, it may feel maybe about a half a stop underexposed. So you probably want to bring that out a little bit, just especially show the greenery in the tree and the fact that there are brilliant lights on that tree. What do you think?
Pretty close. Pretty close.
I'm getting there. Pretty soon I'll just do a split screen between me and me.
You and you.
What do you think? So I know you're going to say something about that chandelier for sure.
Oh yeah, the chandelier's killing me. Oh my gosh, it's haunting me right there. Really, because this whole shot, I mean, as lovely as that tree is, if we crop it all the way up, just below the arch of the door, now we've got this great photo of the chandeliers, right? Mm-hmm. Except for the front one's out of focus. This is one of those kind of shots where you have to be really intentional and move around the room and find the best way to convey the subject story that you want to tell. I mean, maybe what you want to do, Ernest, is he just wants to share the space, right? Because there's speakers in there, there's cables on the floor, there's chairs in the way. Yeah. So it's like an event thing is happening. So I'm totally down with that. Like, that's a good story. I could see a couple in there, dancing or, like a group activity thing going on. I totally dig that. We're assuming that this is a portrait of the tree, not just a portrait of the room. So, I want to see that tree all by itself in a clean space because it's just beautiful tree. So
yeah, yep, for sure. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. That chandelier is just mocking me every time I look at it. It's photobombing the tree is what it's doing, right?
Yes, it is. And then I don't know what's going on the right side of the tree in the doorway. Only in the doorway, it's soft. The doors. Oh,
is that a shadow? Maybe.
No. The edge of the tree is soft.
Huh. Yeah.
Right, and it looks a little weird because right above the actual physical door, the tree's not soft anymore. So I don't know if something got cloned out of there, or I don't know.
Yeah, Ernest, you'll have to let us know.
Yeah, let us know. But what a cool place! What a cool lot of texture, and the lighting. That lighting to the left is just gorgeous.
Yeah, without those hints of modern world in there, like the cables and the cart and the speaker, all that, and the chair.
Right.
You wouldn't know what era this came from, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, there's electricity because those are, you'd have to replace all those with candles, but in the chandeliers.
Yeah.
But it is. Yeah. It looks timeless for sure. What a cool venue.
And on shots like this, I always try to balance the light too. So you've got shadow light coming on the left, so it's definitely going to be cool. So I would take the blue channel and I would desaturate it, or I'd warm it up so that it matched more of the incandescent light source that's coming from the chandeliers.
Got it. Cool. Look at you with 3-syllable words. Incandescent. Incandescent. That's 4 syllables. That's 4 syllables. Look at you. All right. Moving right along. Thank you, Ernest. Next shot is from Freddie Sedano. I knew this was a Freddie shot. I didn't even have to look at the name when I was looking at these. I was like, that's Freddie shot right there.
Yep.
We Are the Millers, starring Jason Sudeikis. What? This is a holiday card I made for a dear friend of mine and mentor. I printed it on 8x12 directly on metal. The Sony a7R II and 90mm combo really pops on that medium, especially where Lego are involved. I actually wanted to do this last year, but ran out of time to shoot. This year, I shot it with a few other Lego projects last month and still barely made it on time. Still trying to post-process my other shots, but I'll get to them eventually. The title is a joke. We can just call it We Are the Millers. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Love the Millers. TWiP, what's the best title for this image? All right, yeah. So are these Millers you? These are you. That's you. That's you right there on the right.
I know. And Margie.
And Margie with her cookies. And it's Kira in the middle with the cat. I love it.
Yeah, with the cat and the sonic screwdriver. She's got the sonic screwdriver.
Oh my goodness. Look at that shot. And with Santa stalking in the back. Look at that.
Yeah, I love the Santa and then the chicken, just like the distant chicken shape.
What's the relevance of the chicken? Is that an inside joke?
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I love it. Margie with her cookies. That's perfect.
Yep.
That is perfect. And the beanie. Look at that.
Yeah, you gave this as a print to us as a Christmas gift at one of our holiday parties. So yeah, I have the metal print.
That's really cool. Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, when you hang it, take a picture of that. I want to see it hanging on the wall.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'm going to put it in my office. Yeah.
That is really cool. All right. That's blatant pandering now. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I think you should recuse yourself from judging on this one.
I was going to say, I think the image is perfect. There's nothing wrong. I don't,
That's fake news. Look at you. But what do you think? This is a Freddie Sedano non-traditional commercial photography shot, right?
No, it's really great. Macro stuff is hard because you need to light it like a full-size subject. But then when you photograph it, you have to stack it because the closer you get, the less depth of field you have. And so there's a lot of work that goes into stacking these images, taking lots of photos, and post-processing. I only feel like the foreground is a little bit bright, so I would probably have burned that in a little bit, the light gray floor, if you will.
Yeah. You could take that floor down and capture one, right? You could just select that color range and just bring it down uniformly, right?
Yeah, based on luminosity. Yeah, you could totally do that. So something like that, I think that would help. I'm good with the background. I feel like it's dark enough, and it's out of focus enough, so we got really good separation in there. The specular highlights I like on the Legos, right? Because that's what they are, So I think it's great. Other than that, I like everything. Yeah.
Even the fact that there's no border on there?
Well, And he knows that.
What to say?
No, I mean, he knows that because he's seen competitions. Not everybody's into that. Not everybody sees it that way, but I won't give extra points for borders, but I like it.
Is this empathy I see coming from Troy Miller? What is happening here? What is going on?
Don't say that.
The E word. Oh, no.
Evil.
Yeah. Cool. Freddie Sedano. Thank you, man. That's a lot of work right there.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Michael DeRay's up next. Michael says, this is Arcadia, Florida, population around 8,000. It's the county seat of the poorest county in Florida, but they do the holidays in style. Everybody in town participates regardless of their differences. Florida's best kept secret. It was. Now. He shot this with his EM5, his Olympus EM5.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize that there was a dude in the back on the far left waving.
Yeah, there's like a Santa in there.
Yeah, at first I didn't see that, when I looked at the image originally, I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm.
I love the story that this is telling, right? Like it's a very community, photojournalistic, this is what's happening in, rural America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, from a compositional standpoint, I think even though I know you like Santa in there, I think I would like the photo better without him in there.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just the two individuals. Because now I got three competing stories: the Happy Birthday Jesus cake, and I've got the wise man with his wise kid in the middle,
Right.
and then I got a Santa thrown in there. So
Right.
I think I would chop Santa off and just have it, be those two looking at the cake.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. Yeah. I think there's just, it's a busy image as it is. Right. So let's simplify it a little bit, and definitely cropping it off from the left, and even doing a little bit of a vignette, maybe to darken the outside edges and give us a little more focus on the people in the middle.
And maybe it looks like it's leaning to the left just a little bit. Maybe rotate it.
Yep, rotate it to the right just a tad. Yeah,
just a smidge. And you could tell definitely by looking at that cake. So
yeah, and also the handrail and the vertical posts on that too. So it looks like everything's got a little bit of a left slant. It's all varied, but definitely give it a little twist to the right.
Yeah. You should be playing for the heroes in the shot, which is the if you're going to crop Santa out of there, it would be the guy and the baby. And there's a woman behind there, I think. And then the cake. So I would crop and rotate based on their positioning versus anything else.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, when you're taking these kind of shots, I realize that it's probably dark and it's hard. But there's so much flash entering this image that we're not able to see the lights as well. So I think it would be better to do a longer exposure, a little bit less strobe. Even if you get a little bit of blur, that's okay, because the strobe will stop the motion. So you may get the sense of a little bit of movement, but the strobe is going to stop any movement. So you're going to get a nice crisp, the faces and the details there. So
yeah, and what's interesting is he shot this with this Olympus OMD, right? So with a strobe on it, obviously, like you said, but with a camera with lower light sensitivity, you wouldn't have needed that strobe at all out here. Of course we weren't there, so it may have been really dark, but with one of those Sonys or whatever, those could just capture the scene as it was seen, right? Which is a benefit to those low light sensitivity, larger sensor cameras, I guess.
Right. And looking at his specs, I mean, you're shooting this at a 60th of a second at ISO 800. So you've got like 3 stops that you could easily work with. You could go to 1600. That's one stop. And you could drop your shutter speed from 1/60th down to an 80th. Right. And so that's 2 stops. So that means you could underexpose your strobe a little bit more and pick up more ambient light and pick up some more of those colors from the lights.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. I love people are participating and kind of just, putting their shots in and, and I think it's a good flow of getting feedback on your shot, regardless of, if you think it's, full on high art or not, just to get our thoughts or anyone's thoughts actually on composition and what do they see? Because we see different things. When I shoot, I see things that I think everybody sees, right? And then it turns out no one sees it, and so yeah, it helps to get a second opinion, second and third.
Always. Well, the goal is that the next time that somebody's out and they look through the camera and they look at something, they may or may not choose to follow those recommendations or choose to follow what somebody has said about a critique or an image. But maybe it's there, and maybe it's like, oh, I'm going to take the shot the way I want, but you know what? I'm going to play with the strobe a little bit, and I'm going to see if I can do something different. And that's where the magic is, right? That's where the experimentation and the fun is. You got some voice in the back of your head, like,
yep. Yeah. And it's all about artwork too. It's about what the story is. And that's what we've been preaching since episode 1 of this, right? Who's the hero of the shot? And what story are you telling in this photo, whether it be a landscape or something street photography or portraiture or whatever? What is the underlying story that we're trying to get to? Sometimes it's very thin, the story can be very thin.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really involved. And that's the beauty of photography is, finding that and trying to illustrate it in a two-dimensional frame.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Speaking of illustrating in two-dimensional, Patrick, new member, welcome. I need a cheers sound effect. I got to have like a crowd cheering sound effect.
Yay.
Welcome, Patrick. Patrick says, holidays are a time of peace, serenity, warmth, and shared enjoyment. This photo was taken on the very first day of summer, 2019, around 11 p.m. during a southbound crossing of the English Channel. He shot it with his Panasonic GM1 with the 12 to 32 at 32 millimeters. I don't know if you remember, but that Panasonic GM1 is that tiny Micro Four Thirds camera. It is like literally without a lens on it, you could it's smaller than an iPhone.
Wow.
So well, at least it's thicker than an iPhone, but it's smaller on the XY dimension. The Z axis, it's thicker, but XY, it's much smaller.
Wow. That's amazing.
So cool. What do you think of the shot? And what would you have done differently, if anything?
I would have cropped it quite a bit differently. I mean, I love the shot. I love the fact that we have the barge is over on the right, almost leaving the frame. I like that part of the story. The sun isn't dead center. I like that as well. So, we've got a lot of space that's going on. The horizon feels level. But I feel like we have too much sky. I really love that water. And I would really just sort of bring everything to focus on that water, and then bring the overall exposure or the density of the image, bring it down. Mm-hmm. That barge is backlit by the sun. It should be
black.
Yeah, it should be pure black.
Yeah.
So I feel like the image has been lifted a little bit. Mm-hmm. And shooting into the sun is always really, really tough.
Especially in a Micro Four Thirds sensor. So yeah, for sure. And I see some artifacts in there as well. On the left, in the upper left-hand corner, see a little dark smudgy thing over there?
Yeah, that's a dust. That's a dust on the sensor.
Yeah, I think there's a smaller one on the right side too. So yeah, those are easily corrected with the clone stamp tool.
Yep. Yeah.
So your compositionally, you would drop this down, the top down to maybe half of what it is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To give us a majority of the water. Right now, it's a majority of the sky, and I don't think there's anything tasty up there. Right. I think everything's in the water. I think all those textures and reflections, and even those clouds off on the very, very far left horizon. I think those are spectacular. I think that's great. So
if there was something up there, it'd be different, right? If there was like a flock of seagulls up there that are backlit as well, so you got like a bunch of black bird shapes up there, kind of flying in from left to right. That that would give it a reason to have that much sky in there.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. So just crop down and darkened a little bit.
Yep. Cool. All right, Patrick, and welcome again. Welcome to the fray, my friend. All right. Was that the last shot? That was the last shot? I
think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was the last shot. All right, do you have a favorite? Anybody in there stick out to you as the winner of the holiday? I have my favorite. I always bring it up. I'm going to bring it up while I'm waiting on you to tell me.
I've already clicked on mine. Yeah.
All right, here's mine right here.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I like that one. Craig Stampfli, congratulations, man. Your black and white monochromatic fireworks are the favorite in the pick of the week. Yep.
So, lots going on in there. Very, very cool. Very cool.
Good shot, sir. Good shot, sir. All right, and what do you think? The next week is celebration. I'm excited to see what people put in here.
Yeah. What dates? So what are the dates that we have? So we're on the 23rd. So
today's the 23rd. The next one would be the day before New Year's Eve. So New Year's Eve on the 30th. Yeah. New Year's Eve is when we do the next one. So
perfect.
To be interesting. All right. I still don't know what I'm getting for Christmas, by the way. Still have no idea. I've been working it, and none of my
pound package it hasn't shown up.
No, 360, and I, none of my efforts to kind of Jedi mind trick the contents of the package have worked so far. So, whatever. I can wait. I can wait another 48 hours. It's all good.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool, man. So what's up for you? Anything you want to share before we sign off?
No, I'm just chilling. Everybody enjoy the holidays. Be safe. Have fun. Go take some photos.
All right, cool. All right, man. You be safe. I will see you after the holiday. And by the way, you have a gift coming in the email for you, as I mentioned. So, yeah. And it's not a Starbucks gift card, I promise. It is something that you will actually use, I promise.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.
All right, boss. See ya.
Peace.
Bye.
This is TWiP.